Okay, let's unpack this. Today we're diving deep into the world of Marco Vitruvius Pollio. He's a figure whose ideas really set the stage for so much of Western architecture and, well, engineering, too.
Absolutely. And, it's pretty incredible that our main way into his thinking is just this one book, De Architectura Libri Decem.
Just one.
Yeah, it's the only complete classical guide on architecture that actually survived from ancient times. I mean, think about that. All those years, and this is the comprehensive one we have.
Wow. The only one. That really bumps up its importance, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
huge importance.
So, okay, our deep dive today is about who this guy was, what key ideas are in those 10 books, and why we're even still talking about him now.
Exactly. And De Architecture, it covers a ton. Everything from materials and temples, city planning, even like water clocks and machines.
So really encyclopedic.
Totally. But the real heart of it, the core philosophy, is what people call the Vitruvian triad.
Ah, right, the big three. Firmness, Utilitas, and Venustus. I've heard of those.
That's them. Vitruvius was pretty clear. A good building needs all three. Can't just have one or two. So Firmness is solidity, basically. It needs to be strong, built well, built to last.
Right, structural integrity. It shouldn't fall down. Seems basic.
You'd think. But yeah, step one, then you've got utilitas, utility, or usefulness.
Functionality.
Exactly. The building has to actually work for what it's meant for. A house needs to be livable. A library needs space for books and readers.
Makes sense. It has to serve its purpose.
Precisely. And the third one is Venustus. Now, we usually translate that as beauty.
Yeah.
But for Vitruvius, it wasn't just about slapping on some decoration. It was more about a beauty that came from proportion, from harmony, a pleasing look that emerged because all the parts related correctly to the whole thing.
Ah, so an inherent beauty from the design itself.
Yes. These three being solid, being useful, and having this kind of harmonious beauty, he saw them as totally linked. You ignore one, you don't really have architecture, just building.
And this idea of proportion, that's where it gets really fascinating, right? Because he didn't just talk about math, he tied it back to the human body.
He did, and this is maybe one of his most lasting ideas. He literally described how a sort of perfectly formed human, standing with their arms and legs out, could fit neatly inside both a circle and a square. He saw the human form as this kind of like perfect model, a small version reflecting the harmony of the universe.
A microcosm.
Right. And he thought architecture should echo those same natural, perfect proportions.
Which explains Leonardo da Vinci's famous drawing, the Vitruvian Man. That wasn't just anatomy class then.
Not at all. Leonardo was directly illustrating this Vitruvian concept,
Right.
showing that connection, human proportions as the key, the canon, for harmony in building. It's such a powerful visual.
Yeah, it really is. And this whole body of work, it kind of vanished for a while, didn't it, during the Middle Ages?
It did, yeah. It was largely forgotten, sort of a lost piece of classical knowledge for centuries.
Until this sort of dramatic rediscovery moment.
Exactly. Around 1414 or 1415, this scholar, Poggio Bracciolini, he was a humanist, found a copy tucked away in a monastery library, probably in Switzerland.
Wow.
Cool.
Talk about lucky finds.
Seriously. And finding it then was, well, pivotal. It landed right as the Renaissance was getting fired up about classical ideas.
Perfect timing, especially with printing starting to take off.
Couldn't have been better. Printing presses meant his ideas could spread much faster and wider than ever before, and they landed with a bang. Big names were influenced.
Like who?
Well, Leon Battista Alberti, another huge Renaissance architect and theorist, his own major book on architecture is clearly modeled on Vitruvius's 10 books he built on that foundation.
Okay.
And then there's Andrea Palladio, probably one of the most influential architects, period. He straight up called Vitruvius his master. Palladio's villas, his whole system, it's deeply rooted in applying those Vitruvian principles of proportion.
You can definitely see that symmetry and harmony in Palladio's work.
Absolutely. And that influence didn't stop there. It flowed right through into the neoclassical period, centuries later. And honestly, it's still relevant.
How so?
Well, whenever people today talk about what makes architecture good, beyond just like being functional or trendy, they often end up circling back to something like Vitruvius's balance, that need for solidity, usefulness, and that deeper sense of beauty that comes from harmony and proportion.
It's amazing. So one book, Surviving Against the Odds, gives us this framework that's resonated for, what, 2,000 years?
Pretty much. His core ideas, balancing the practical with the aesthetic, rooting it all in harmony, even using the human body as a guide, they're still shaping how we think about building.
It leaves you with something to think about, doesn't it?
Definitely. Maybe consider this.
Yeah.
How might that ancient idea, the human body as a kind of blueprint for universal harmony, still be subtly guiding your own gut feeling about what looks right or feels balanced in the buildings you see every day?